Interest rates are up again in reaction to the CPI number that came out yesterday. The CPI is the Consumer Price Index, and that took markets. Everybody started a big stock sell off, and it also sent mortgage rates up significantly yesterday in reaction. The average mortgage rate, according to Mortgage News Daily, is 6.3%. So I wanted to come and give you some advice as a first-time home buyer. I'm Shaheedah Hill, getting you over the hill to home ownership and helping you confidently buy your first home. Now, it is much more expensive, as you know, to buy a home in September than it was in January of this year. On an average $400,000 house is probably about $700 more expensive to buy that same home right now. So a lot of budgets had to be adjusted if you're still in the market for a home. So I want to make sure that you know what's coming ahead. Now, the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, did have a speech about 2 weeks ago, and I want to play about a minute of that speech so you have a better idea of what the Fed is trying to do to reduce the demand and reduce inflation.
And requires using our tools forcefully to bring demand and supply into better balance. Reducing inflation is likely to require a sustained period of below-trend growth. Moreover, there will very likely be some softening of labor market conditions. While higher interest rates, slower growth, and softer labor market conditions will bring down inflation, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses. These are the unfortunate costs of reducing inflation.
Okay, so he said a couple of important things just in that one little clip. He said the one that stuck with me the most was there's going to be some pain, almost preparing everyone for the pain that's to come. And the major pain is likely because we're already feeling the pain in prices, grocery store prices, utility prices, just the price of everything is more expensive. So we're already feeling that pain. But the highlight, I guess, of this economy is that we're employed, that most people either have a job or they can find a job, or maybe some people have more than one job. So the pain that's going to be in addition to the pain of inflation is going to be, he said, softening labor market. There may be layoffs because if they keep on making everything too expensive, then companies are not going to be able to afford to keep all of their employees. So the goal is right now there's almost on average 2 jobs per person that wants one. They want that to go down, and they want the softening labor market is going to result in some layoffs. So they're preparing for that. So it's very important that you're aware of this if you're in the housing market and you want to make sure that you have a very, very stable job. You want to make sure that you have very, very stable employment at this time. Because the CPI number did come in higher, they're expecting that the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates more aggressively at 0.75% next week. So the Fed meets next week and they're going to be more aggressive because that inflation, that CPI number was much higher than they anticipated. And I just want to make sure that you are prepared for this. I recommend a couple of things that if you're still in the market for a house, if you have to buy. Long term, you're going to be okay. But if you don't have to buy a house right now, there's really no rush to buy. I don't know of a good reason that you would rush to buy a house in this environment right now. But I do want to make sure if you are purchasing that you have a couple of things. I should have put this on. I want to make sure that you have 3 to 6 months of expenses. And this is after any down payment and closing costs. I want to make sure that you have enough money. And I'm not talking about reserves. Reserves are if your mortgage is $1,000, then you're going to have $3,000 in reserves. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 3 to 6 months of expenses. So if you know it costs $5,000 for you to pay all of your bills every month, food, utilities, everything that you need, gas, then you need to have at least $15,000 saved. For 6 months, you would need to have at least $30,000 saved. And that's significant. And most people are living paycheck to paycheck. So I want you to prioritize in this environment, making sure you have 3 to 6 months of expenses before you purchase a house. One of the major reasons that people experience foreclosure or cannot pay their bills is what they call income shock. They lose their job, they get ill and they can't pay their bills. There's some significant decrease in their income. They get a divorce, and one spouse leaves and they don't have the income that they used to have. So you want to protect yourself against these income shocks. And this for everybody, not just for first time home buyers, but for anybody in this economy. You need to make sure, just in general, good financial practice, that you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. So make sure you have that. Also, make sure that you're going to be staying in this home for 5 to 7 years or more. This is not the time to buy a house you're going to live in for a year or 2 years. So that's also very important. And then, again, I want you to stay under, and I did a video about this. I will link it to the end of this video. You need to stay under 35%. And I know that's like, how can I do that? Of your take home pay. And that will keep you at a reasonable level. So if you were to, have some income instability, you're still able to pay your most important bills. But if you are pushed to pay, having a lot of your housing, a lot of your income going to housing, it may be difficult for you. So you need to make your goal to get your housing costs less than 35% of your take home pay. And I did this video all about that. I hope this was helpful. Please put any questions down in the comments, and I'll get to those. And join me live. I'll be live tomorrow. So, and if you're seeing this video later, please join me on my lives and subscribe. Thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you soon.